Does a wealth tax work? We heard Gareth quite provocatively describing a wealth tax as a silly idea. Well, Heledd Fychan has already indicated that this silly idea has been implemented in Norway for 133 years, so that's quite impressive for a silly idea. And of course we can be selective, can't we? Both, we can all be guilty of this, that we're selective to look at the evidence that suits our political views. But it can work. Evidence shows that it can work. It can fail if it's not done properly, but generally, in principle, it can work. Look at Spain. Spain is Europe's fastest growing economy. The Financial Times recently described Spain as Europe's standout economy. They have a wealth tax. Now, would a wealth tax work for Wales? That's Julie's question for us this afternoon. Well, clearly, the answer is yes. A wealth tax, as John has already indicated, would allow us to redistribute wealth to the most neglected and underinvested parts of the UK. That, of course, would benefit Wales. Many of us already, from the pillar over there to my right, or should I say to my left, have shaken our heads when we've heard several stats mentioned this afternoon about extreme concentration of wealth, as the Cabinet Secretary described it. Well, this is another stat which shocked me. If the wealth of the super rich continues to grow at the rate it has been doing, then by 2035, it doesn't seem that far away, by 2035, the wealth of the richest 200 families in the UK would be larger than the whole GDP of the UK. Now, that is staggering. And surely, that is nearly unbelievable. Surely that's not right. We can't say that is right. They can afford for the rest of the UK to actually feel. John reminded us that the UK is the 6th largest economy in the world. Well, people don't feel like that. People in communities in Cardiff and in Newport and in the Valley, they don't feel that they live in the 6th richest economy of the world. What they feel is that they've always been asked to shoulder the burdens. They've been asked to deal with increased costs time and time again, to deal with stagnating wages, to deal with a struggling health service, cuts to public services. Earlier this week, I had an email from a constituent they'd ran out of money to pay for their mother's care home bills. And then the local authority couldn't shoulder that bill. That lady now, 86 years of age, has to move from that care home where she's been since 2001. They don't feel as if they're living in the 6th richest economy in the world. Mark, you wanted to say something?
Response to research by the Adam Smith Institute, but published in The Independent, showing that each of the 10,800 millionaires who left last year would have paid, was it 394,000 in income tax last year had they stayed. That's a few billion less for public services.
Yes, well, we'll leave that at that, I think. That says, the way that you've had the evidence says enough, I think. There's this idea that there's a flight of millionaires and billionaires from this country is absolutely love. Who are these billionaires who are flooding from this country? Name them, Mark. Give us these names of these people. They don't exist. Andrew R.T. Davis is still here with us today in the chamber. Now, opponents to such change over there should consider this, that wealth tax is not really an interference with the free market. Unlike other taxes, targeted taxes and tax relief on certain types of property and investment, it doesn't incentivize one type of spending behaviour or one type of investment over another. With regards to influencing the free market, it is one of the least invasive things we could do to raise capital. So you, big proponents of the free market, I expect you to be supporting Julie's debate today. Now, also, I think you should look at history. Some of you might remember Disraeli. In 1842, when income tax was introduced by the Conservative government, there was a huge fanfare of people opposing income tax. In fact, the good old Liberal Gladstone was against it, Jane. And for decades, people were complaining about income tax. People were saying probably the same arguments that Mark Isher would have said today about this influx of wealth away from our shores. But, well, yes, exactly, they are facts, Mark, quite right. Now, for decades, they wanted to abolish income tax, but just think for a second, if we actually had abolished income tax, what we wouldn't have right now, our education system, our health system, our infrastructure, all based largely on people contributing through income taxes. Consider if we would have taken that away just to allow some Victorians to be a little bit wealthier. This is the very same argument you're doing right now, over 150 years later. As Julie has said, the people of the UK, and as polls have shown time and time again, the people of the UK want the wealthiest to pay their fair share. Wealth tax is based on the will of the people, and you often quote the will of the people over there, don't you? Wealth tax is based on the will of the people. It will improve our society's well-being. It's so true. John's comment about nobody wants to live in a community where people are sleeping homeless, where people feel that they've got to break the law to feed themselves and their families. People don't want to live in an unequal society. It helps nobody, from the very rich to the poorest in our communities. Yes, a wealth tax could, if done properly, will improve the lives of everyone in our society. And yes, to Julie's important question, it will work for Wales. Diolch yn fawr.